Well, good afternoon. Let's start by introducing yourselves.
Okay, I'm Jolene Boyd Cox.
Okay, and?
And I'm Edwin Paul Cox Jr., known as Porky Cox.
Not recently.
Not recent, just my old friends and classmates and people I knew early
In the
on.
day, yes. When did the two of you start coming to Memorial?
Okay, I started at First Baptist downtown, and when they realized that a mission church needed to be brought out this way, then I came out with as my father was one of the 86 charter members,
Okay.
and I came with him, and then in '56 I became a member of Memorial Baptist and was not baptized until '57 because we didn't have a baptismal, and the baptismal at that time, after the new building was built, was on, if you were looking from the front of the church, was on the left side, and it was on the floor. So Fanny Collins and I were baptized together on
Okay.
a Wednesday night.
Oh,
Oh,
very
Wednesday
nice.
night.
Yeah, Wednesday
So
night.
what was your father's name?
Arnold Boyd.
Arnold Boyd.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about you, Paul?
Well, I got involved with Memorial Baptist. First, I'd like to say something about Southern Baptist
Oh, sure,
before
go
I
ahead.
say that. I'm a believer, but I am very proud to be a Southern Baptist. We have 4,000 to 5,000 missionaries on the mission field that we pay a salary, we take care of them with a home, we take care of their transportation, we offer them a pension, whereas other denominations have to raise their own money. And also, I am very proud that we don't have a doctrine. Our doctrine is the Bible. And as far as Memorial goes, I am so proud of Memorial. The average stay of a pastor in a Southern Baptist church is only 3 to 4 years. In the 65 years, and by the way, Sunday will be our 65th birthday.
Sunday is
September the
26th.
23rd.
It's the 20th.
23rd, okay.
Yeah, September the 23rd.
2018.
2018, we will have been a church for 65 years. In those 65 years, we've only had 7 pastors. So that's a little bit over 9 years per pastor. That is a tremendous accomplishment.
Yes.
So I'm very proud of that. Now, how did I get to Memorial? It's a long story, but to make a long story short, I was christened and baptized in the First Methodist Church downtown
Oh, as an infant.
as an infant.
Yes.
And I lived in L Place. Now, L Place is in part of McGill Village. People won't know the McGill Village that I know. In my neighborhood, there was the chief of police, there was a medical doctor, there was a lawyer, a number of members of our church at that time in the old farmhouse, the Flints, the Roops, the Thrashers, the Smiths, and maybe some others I have forgotten about. So how I got involved, Lincoln Ball at that time ran the training union. Now, he took the kids skating rinks, picnics, ball games. So I got involved because I had many friends in L Place. So I came to love this man, and he was my first mentor. My father and mother at that time weren't going to church, and he was the kind of man that I wanted to be. So then, later on, Claude Yelton came along. He was my baseball coach.
Okay.
And I love sports. And he became my second mentor. And then later on, Bill Flint, who came to Pulaski as a professional baseball player, and because he hurt his knee, he was not able to continue on with professional baseball, so he stayed in Pulaski. He became the Southwest Times sports writer. He also, with a couple of other gentlemen, purchased the Western Auto and became a resident of Pulaski. He was a tall, good-looking, athletic man, a great Sunday school teacher, a great lay speaker, and I said, oh, I want to be like him. I knew I could never be as big as him, but I could sure would like to be like he lived his life. Mm-hmm. So he was my third mentor. So in January of 1959, we had a revival. And
who was the pastor then?
The pastor then in 59 was
Albert Hale.
Albert Hale was still our pastor.
Okay.
That's right. Albert Hale was still our pastor. In January of 1959, I was in a revival, and I heard the gospel
Here at the church.
Here at the church, here at Memorial, and I honestly can't remember the evangelist's name, but I do remember what he said. And I'd never heard the gospel presented like he did. So at the end of the service, I came up and gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ. While I had been in the church all my life, I made a profession of faith. I was 18 years old. And by the way, Reverend Vaughn was the pastor then.
Yeah.
And we've had 7 pastors. Reverend Vaughn, Reverend Hale, Edwin Vaughn, Powhatan Cox, Steve Cromer, Pat Coffey, David Lonas, and Mike Jones.
Yes.
I just wanted to add that in for people who may not know that we've had 7 pastors and their names.
Sure.
So I went up and made a profession of faith. My life from then on changed, and God watched after me, because right after high school I joined the Army, and Reverend Hale came to my house and talked to me the day before I left. And he said, I remember exactly what he said. He said, Paul, I don't know where God is going to take you, but I want you to remember this, that you will always have a home here at Memorial. When you come back, I'm almost teared up when I think about it.
Yeah. What a
Because
loving-
my home has been here
Yeah.
ever since 1959, because I joined January the 11th. So after I joined the church, I met Jolene through the prayers of my mother. We got married, and after our honeymoon, the first Sunday that we came to church after our honeymoon, Reverend Vaughn was pastor at that time. And by the way, Reverend Hale had baptized me on the floor out there too. But at the time we got married and when we came back from the honeymoon, we came to church. Reverend Edwin Vaughn, who built the educational building for us, was our pastor. And we went up and made profession of faith, renewed our faith, and our pledge to serve Memorial. And we have done that now for 54 years.
That is a long time of service and going strong, I would say, too.
Going strong.
Lord's will, yes.
Yeah, Lord willing.
Yeah. When you think back on all those long years and you think about the people, Paul, you've talked about who influenced you, but Jolene, what names come to mind when you think about the old timers?
I think about being involved in Sunday school, because I worked in the nursery and did preschool, and Doris Patton and I worked many, many years in preschool. And also I read a Flint through WMU, and then she and Bill were very special to me, because after my family, there was a divorce in my family, and we separated. I went into a home here in Pulaski, and Bill and I were very special. They encouraged me, and I always worked at the Western Alto during different seasons. Yes,
you did?
Yes,
Okay.
while I was in high school, and so they were like parents to me,
Yeah.
and very special. And there were other people, Virginia Derman,
Oh, yes.
who just lived across the street,
Mhm.
and then after Debbie Farley came here as a secretary, we got very close and did a lot of ministry together, did things for different people. So there's been numerous people that have been a great influence here at Memorial
Okay.
and have gone on to glory.
Many, many have.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
praise the Lord.
That's right. Do you have things that you think about when you think of Memorial and quiet times and you're just thinking about the church? You think about maybe what the future holds for Memorial?
Well, I think about how Memorial has produced people who've gone into full-time ministry.
Mm-hmm.
We have Rob Flint.
Yes.
We have Mark and Philip Hearn. We have, of course, David and Carrie Lookaville at this time. And, of course, Tom and Tina. See, Tom was our minister of youth and music. And he and Tina was a homegirl, Tina Phillips.
And I had most of them in Sunday school
Right.
because I taught, at one time I taught the youth Sunday school class from the 8th grade to senior class.
Oh, goodness.
All of them at one time. And I taught them for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And these people that she's mentioning came through my Sunday school
Okay.
class. I'll never forget a statement that of the greatest statement of honor ever bestowed on me in all my life was by Tina Phillips. She and Tom Ferguson got up before the church to explain how they came to go into ministry and how they were affected. And I'll never forget what Tina said. It brings tears to my eyes today. She said, the person who has influenced my life more than any other person in this church has been Paul Cox.
Oh,
And I'd had her for 5 years in Sunday school. And it just blessed my soul. It wasn't me because it was the word that I was sharing with her that did it.
yes. You were
But-
God's spokesperson.
Yes, I was God's spokesperson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about missions. If anyone were to say, who at Memorial is involved in missions, I know you two would come to the top of the list in almost everybody's minds. Why don't you go ahead and describe some of your mission work?
We started our love for missions in 1974 when we first started doing lay witness missions weekends, and I would work with the children, and Paul would do the different groups, and we got involved with that through one of his bosses at Radford Arsenal.
Okay.
From Radford, was in the Methodist Church in Radford, and that was a time, Methodist. And later on in years, we did have a lay witness weekend here at the church.
Mm-hmm.
But we first got involved in that, and then went, I guess, internationally. Our first mission was to Honduras.
No, Czech Republic.
I'm sorry, that's right, Czech Republic. And when we went there through the BGAB, and we went to Olavi to a halfway house and refurbished the halfway house for prisoners who were coming out to be freed, because families there do not accept, once they've been in prison, they can not come back and join their families. Memorial has been involved in mission work in Russia, Romania, Hungary, Czech Republic, Jamaica, Honduras, Thailand, China,
Taiwan,
Taiwan, Singapore,
Albania.
right, and Albania. So,
That's a long list.
right, and it's a mission church.
Yes.
It truly is when you think about the involvement.
And it
Yeah.
just wasn't us in those
Right.
those places.
There are other members
Yes.
that have gone. Our big involvement has been with Honduras. Would you like to?
Yes, I would like to talk about because it's an ongoing mission.
It is.
In
Now.
2000, for 8 years, we built churches all over Honduras. And one of those churches that we came in contact with was a church in Sagatepeque, in the Las Colinas area, which is a very poor section, where the houses are adobe and dirt floors. And they needed not only a church, but they needed a clinic. So Betania Baptist Church and Clinic was birthed. When Jolene and I went there was a stack of cinder blocks, there was a wooden chapel, and that was it. And the pastor of the church was Pastor Raul Villatoro. He had 3 children. His oldest was Doris Yvette Villatoro. His 2 sons were Raulito Villatoro and his other son was Fernando Villatoro. So Jolene and I helped build the concrete floor and bring the walls up. And I didn't have any talent, so I was a gopher. So I carried 5-gallon buckets of concrete mix to get it up to the second floor so they could continue to lay block. Jolene became a skilled block layer. So it didn't end there.
And we did VBS for the children in the afternoon.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we did PBS.
And we would have 50 to 60 to 100 children
Oh, my.
every afternoon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Outside, right?
Outside.
Yep.
Yes.
And then later on, we took our pastor, Pastor David Lonis, down, and we took Bob
A bird.
Bird and
Woody and Jane.
Woody and Jane on a mission trip. We had raised $6,000 and built 2 Sunday school classes. Okay? And then in an additional mission, we went down. Dr. Winky went with us.
We did a medical clinic.
Had a medical clinic at that time. And did Woody and Jane go that time?
Probably.
Probably. And then Suzette.
Yeah, Suzette went as
She was a nurse.
Right, yes, a
Suzette
nurse.
went with us. And our church had accumulated $7,000 to buy the lot next door to Betania Baptist Church and Clinic, because they just had a small clinic. And we had taken down examining tables. Jim Winky and the doctors at the hospital,
Including Dick Garrett's.
yeah, Dick Garrett was in. He came in a little bit later. I was going to bring that in too. Had just a small clinic, and now they're in the process of building a 3-story medical clinic there on that land that Memorial Baptist purchased. And so this missionary by the name of Shirley Mathis, and we called her Cheerly, Cheerly, because she always was in a good mood. And they needed someone to take care of getting monies, because she had a great desire to help young people in Honduras to get a better education, because in Honduras the government only sends you to the 6th grade.
Oh,
So she had this vision of putting kids in private schools and Christian schools. She had no way to have someone to administer the money, get the money down there, etc., etc. So Jolene became the stateside administrator. I became the accountant. And in 2001, our church at a business meeting voted that we would develop a partnership with the church at Betania Baptist Church and Clinic. And since then, well, this month, September, we sent $2,445. Every month we wire all the monies we get into.
And these monies come from throughout the United States.
okay.
And it comes to Memorial. Memorial is a good avenue to get the money to Honduras, and the bank that we work with uses it as a community service, so they wire each month.
Without
No
charge.
cost.
Oh,
Right.
wonderful.
Yes.
And we get about $60,000 to $80,000 a year.
Wow.
It
That's
goes-
got to be a fortune down there.
No, it is
It
a
is, but
fortune.
it runs the clinic. It pays the doctor, it pays the nurse, it pays, for medicines, and it's a free clinic. And the people there pay as they can.
Yeah.
So these young kids that we knew back in 2001, and well, actually we went there the first time in 1998. They were just kids. Well, they grew up,
Sure.
and so they wanted to further their education. We sponsored a young girl, and we still send her money every month, and she's married now with 2 children. One, is she pregnant?
Who, Brenda?
Brenda.
No, just the one.
So we sent her through high school and then through college, and then Darcevette came along, and she wanted to be a medical doctor, and we thought, wow, a medical doctor. So 2 men that were instrumental in our church was Jim Winky and Dick Garrett. Y'all were very faithful in sending money and
Education.
for her education, and we really had a time because we had to have about $2,600 every month to keep her in medical school. And one testimony I just have to share. When David Lookabill got married, we were at his wedding, and after the wedding at the reception, I was dancing with Janet Hanks. Okay. And we were short $1,000 for Dorsavet. I had $1,000 some dollars. We needed another $1,000. And I thought, what in the world are we going to do? So I'm dancing with Janet, and she says, by the way, Paul, I got something for you. So she sticks a check in my pocket. So I go out in the vestibule, and their nursery was right there, and on top of the nursery, they had a sign, King's Kids. And I thought, oh my gosh. And Woody was there. I opened up the check. It was for $1,000.
That's how God works.
I still get chill bumps thinking about that. That was only God could have done that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got Doris through medical school. We didn't get to go to her graduation, but we did get to go to her wedding. Now she has twin boys. We've put Ralito through university, and he is a civil engineer. And in a couple of years, Fernando will be a surgeon.
Good for him.
He's on doing internship now.
He's doing his intern in Copan, which is a place where there's a lot of historical places. We've been there. And they both want to stay in Honduras. They don't want to come to the States and make big money. They want to stay in Honduras and help their people.
That's excellent.
And all the children who've been educated to this have stayed in Honduras to help their people.
That is wonderful. Let's turn our eyes to Thailand and address that a little bit too, because before we run out of time, we definitely want to hear about that.
Yes.
Okay, Thailand. I went to Thailand and stayed 2 years, worked out of the embassy on civilian status for the U.S. government. I went over there at 18. I was 19 years old. I was at a tea with the ambassador and all these foreign service people. I guess they thought I was a dependent, but I was a cryptographer. I had a very serious, important job, and I came to love the people. I was a Christian, but I was a wayward Christian at that time. I had other things on my mind with the guys. And I even one time thought I'd look up a missionary, but I didn't. But I came home, and in the back of my mind, always I thought, oh, it'd be great to go back to Thailand on a mission. So I went, David Lonis and I, Pastor David Lonis, and I went to the evangelistic conference with Jolene in Roanoke. And I'm standing out in the hallway, and Randy Aldridge, who was our state Southwest missionary, was talking about his family. He had just taken a job. His son was getting married. He was building a house. He had this team he had to leave to Thailand. Well, when he said Thailand, my ears perked up.
Yes.
And I said, well, you know, Randy, I lived in Thailand 2 years. I said, I even speak the language. Sawadee kap, sabadi lep, pum pum tai nitnoi.
Paul, you are a man of surprises.
And he looked at me and he said, well, the only way you can lead a team over there is you have to go. As a team member, then you can lead a team. I said, well, Randy, I took the Macedonian training at Ridgecrest that trains you to be a foreign missionary leader. And I said, I've had that training. He said, that's good enough. This was the end of May in 2000. This was the end of April in 2005. He said, the mission leaves the first week in May. So I said, well, let me check with my wife. And I went and told Jolene. So Jolene and I took his team over there for the first time in 2005. And since 2005, we've been there 11 years.
My.
We became long-term missionaries. We got involved with Southern Cross. We got involved with Light for Asia. And this year, we won't be going. My grandson, oldest, is getting married in March. Joseph has come back. In fact, he's going to Spain this month on a conference to see how to get Chinese Bibles in other parts, because if you've been reading in the news, China has really given the churches over there a hard time, and the Bibles. So it's a blessing that the Bibles are still going out.
And at this point, they're not handing out as many Bibles. They're not accepting the Bibles to take into country
And in
The
meeting with,
individuals won't take them.
because of what's going on in China right now.
They don't
Yeah.
want to be caught with
Right, and that's very
and we
sad.
also met with the university students over there. And there's this one over there, I couldn't pronounce her name, but I gave her the name Grace, and I told her to read the book of Romans. And to Facebook messaged me if she had questions, and she did all month. So the next month I was up there, I talked to her, and about a week later she made a profession of faith and got baptized. So.
But we would hand out Bibles on the night at the pier. And we would hand out sometime as many as, 9 to
2,000,
1,000.
1,500.
1,500 Bibles in a night.
So these, you're on the pier because of why?
Because the Chinese will come in there. It's like our little Miami. It's on the coast there, and they come in for vacation during Chinese New Year especially. And they come in and the pier, there's 3 dinner boats, and they go out to the dinner boats for dinner and for shows. So either going out or coming back, then we present them with a free gift, which is the Bible, and it's in their language.
And the travel agents in China would send them there.
Right.
In fact, there was one Chinese lady told me that the travel agent she talked to said, go to Pattaya because you get a free Bible. The travel agent must have been a Chinese.
Yeah.
And then we met some Chinese that have house churches. And with these house churches, they this one group that I talked with, they had never had they had one Bible, and they would tear the pages out and give to their members, and they would read them that week. They would bring them back, and then they would share them with others.
Yeah.
And when they were able to get a Bible, they just stood there and was so happy that they had a Bible that they could take, each one of them to take to their house group that they went.
And
So that
one year over there, Jolene had given this Bible to a little guy, and he went over to his family. And when I was talking to some Thais, and I came up to Jolene, she said, I just gave that young boy a Bible. So I went over there thinking that they were non-Christians. So I had a 4 spiritual laws tract. It was in Chinese and English. And the boy was about 10, so I had him read all the way through that tract in Chinese. And after he read through it, I prayed in English. He had his grandmother there, his aunt, his mother, and his father, and the little boy. And the aunt spoke some English. So after I prayed the sinner's prayer, they were all Christians. However, they had never had a Bible in 4 generations.
Oh.
That was the first Bible they had in 4 generations. So she asked me, said, they were from Canton. And she said, can you recommend a church in Canton? I don't know why she thought I could recommend. I said, I can't, but if you'll give me your email, then I will make sure, because we have missionaries all over China, and they work for the company.
Yeah.
So I took her email and I passed it on up. And later in the East Asia paper, there was Jolene giving that Bible to that little boy. The company man in Canton had recommended them a church.
Good.
And they got in a church in Canton. So there are all kinds of testimonies. I could talk for a week about testimony.
And we have kept up with some of the Chinese that we have met. We keep up with them through email. And the one lady that we had met, a young girl at the time, but she is living in Chiang Mai. So this past year, just when we were there in January, we got to go to Chiang Mai, and we got to meet her husband and a little boy, and she's now expecting their 2nd child. So it's wonderful how you develop these relationships and how God brings these people into your life.
And there's this one young man, ASAP Jing. You remember who ASAP was? Anybody that would know, you would know.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I were thinking, yes.
He was David's worship leader.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So
in fact, when we study Psalms, many of them will say, for Asaph.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so he took an English, they all take English names. I became his surrogate grandfather. I don't know, we just hit it off, and I love the guy. He loves me.
Played the guitar.
He played the guitar, musician, handsome guy.
And we would sing on the pier as the Chinese were coming and going. We would sing, and he would play his guitar.
Okay.
So this young lady from Wisconsin came over there, and they fell in love. She's studying Chinese. He's studying to be a missionary. And her family has already come over and met his family, and they are now married.
Oh, wonderful.
And I wouldn't be surprised if someday they turn up at our house.
I hope they do.
And
were
I'll
married
be
in August.
tickled to death. And the other one too, Melody and her family, they're dying to come to
Right.
our house. So
When we
Anyway.
think about it, there are so many memories of things that God has been faithful to provide for things and to lead us, and to look ahead for the future of the church is an exciting thing.
and Elaine, I want to say one thing in closing. If it hadn't been for Memorial Baptist Church, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Not one of this would have
The
happened.
church has been very supportive in prayer and financially for us to be able to.
And it's not
together.
about Paul and Jolene, you
No,
know that.
it's about Memorial, and to get the Bibles, at Christmas time, instead of buying cards and sharing cards, we always put that toward
Yes.
the Bibles, in which that bought many Bibles, and Memorial is involved in every mission that we have done. So,
That's excellent.
and it's exciting to see what God still has ahead
And
for
then-
Memorial.
And then another thing, in the future now, I look at Dick with the basketball team, and I look at this community dinners. Jolie and I pray every night that God will give Memorial a vision for this time. We've had a great history, but I don't think God is through with us.
Not at all.
And then the school upstairs is
It
another
was
thing.
exciting to know that we have a
Very
Christian
much.
school started.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. The Lord is good. isn't
Yes.
he?
Amen.